Pretty Little Liars, the television series, sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provided a list of content warnings in the episode description. Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we do not have the death I thought we had this week. It is next week. I was so mad. I swear to God, I thought it was in this one. Well, it was in 9. It was not in 9. It's in 10. So, one more week, my friends.
Got to the end of the episode and you're like, wait.
Well, and no, so actually when I realized I was wrong, it's when we got to the scene with Aria and Jason during the storm in the De Laurentiis house. Because I distinctly remembered that scene, and I distinctly remembered different Aria scenes being in the other. And I not necessarily like related, just like, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So that's on me. My bad.
That's,
I pumped you up for nothing.
Expectations.
Yeah. So but right. I've been waiting for this. We'll have to watch this soon.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. So then we'll get there.
We'll get there.
We'll
because it's the mid-season finale.
Really? So that makes sense.
So next week we'll have the mid-season finale and then like the beginning of 7B.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually going to be big. It's going to be big. Yeah. I almost wonder if we would have been better off instead of leaving that first episode by itself of using the mid-season finale.
Just by itself?
Uh-huh.
Oh. Yeah, you're probably right.
But it doesn't matter. We're here now.
Train's already rolling.
Don't stop. Don't get off. All right.
You know, if I'm starting to think from these episodes.
What?
Noel's a real big piece of shit.
Noel's the fucking worst. Like, I remember being like, oh, he's kind of cute. You know what I mean? He's cute.
Yeah. He's just kind of an asshole.
And yeah, you're like, oh, he's mean, but he's like a teenage boy.
Yeah. He's like, he would be like a real big dickhead to you, but like, you know.
But then he'd like cry about his mom or something when you're on a date.
Right. But no, he
you know what I mean?
Yeah. He pushed a girl down the stairs off screen.
Okay, but did he?
Yes.
Because Hanna, that's told to her from Allison in her dream.
Yeah, but they say it again later.
Hanna says it to them when she's also talking about her dream.
Right. Do they not all agree with her?
Do you think the look on Allie's face in that scene confirms it? I was wondering.
I thought so. That was my read, that when she said it again, that everybody was just kind of like, yeah, but...
I thought they were maybe just like, because Spencer was like, whoa, we got to stop the train. Where are we going?
Right. And then there's and she's already pretty deep into her rant at that point, and they've already been like, okay, but we like don't have any hard evidence yet.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I guess maybe still more up in the air. I took it as that.
No, I seriously, happened. Like, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know.
Either way, he is doing active work at the dollhouse.
Yes,
he's putting in volunteer hours.
That's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. Like, what the fuck?
And so the whole time when he was like helping Allie, he double-crossed her with Charlotte.
Right, and was already working because it was those three that were in the like cafe, right?
So why didn't Charlotte just immediately put Allie in? I guess did Charlotte not have the dollhouse until after Charlotte came back from Europe from leaving? How long was Charlotte working on the dollhouse?
Right, and then so Allison was using Noel by blackmailing him. But then Charlotte was already working with Noel at some point. Mm-hmm. Maybe at this point also. Well,
I assume when they met, like when she gave Charlotte her thing to get out of town, her ID, when we went to New York.
Yeah.
When Shauna fell 2 feet and died. I have jumped from higher services. My knees didn't even pop. I'm over 30.
Yeah. Okay. So you're thinking from that point on they were working together?
I was thinking like Charlotte? Before that. Yeah. Like from the beginning. Do you think that's wrong?
Okay. Yeah. No. I was on the same page that like they've just always been working together. So why didn't Charlotte put them in touch earlier? And why did Allison have to go through the whole rigmarole of, and maybe just Charlotte just rolls with it after Allison blackmails him, but then he seems really spooked that Allison has something on him still.
Yeah, because he's also double crossing Allison. So wouldn't you be spooked that like
she would do something to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't know just how much that didn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was before his family paid off the girl, according to Allison's dream or what, or
That
Hannah's
was before
dream.
that?
We don't know when.
Before, I thought that.
I thought Allie said like a couple years ago,
Oh,
but maybe not. I could be full of it.
Yeah.
It was also a dream.
that's true. Either way, it's confusing.
So we're confused.
Confusing. But one thing is for sure that Nicole, not Nicole, Jesus Christ, I keep wanting to say it. Noel is awful.
Noel is awful. Nicole is
Jerry's still out.
missing, dead.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
she wasn't one of the ones they found.
No, she doesn't matter. In the grand scheme of things, she really doesn't matter. Like this whole plot line is now just, well, what do we have to do to keep Fitz and Arya apart? Where's their latest speed bump? Rebels in South America.
So I always get really annoyed with this after a certain point. I've been reading, or I'd read a book series at one point where once the couple got together, they stayed together.
Yeah, that's nice.
And it's so nice because then they could like focus on other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked, like, for example, Hanna and Caleb were great. Like, Caleb was great when they were like together and it was working. Spopey was great when they were together and it was working.
Mm-hmm.
When they're fighting, after the first couple fights, it's so fucking boring.
Because it's the same thing. They just refuse to start talking to each other. All of a sudden, all communication breaks down. I was actually thinking through this today. I was like, okay, where was the moment that breaks for these couples? Toby just seems dead set on not saying anything starting in season 3. Doing things on his own. That's where that breaks down. I was like, at first with Caleb, I was like, oh, it's the dollhouse. I'm like, nope, it's Ravenswood.
It's Ravenswood.
Absolutely Ravenswood. Caleb is the first straw there. Emily, it's only with Sabrina.
Yep. But Emily will talk to Paige. She just won't talk to Sabrina.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to Paige. Paige is doing some weird shit in this episode. Paige is always doing some weird shit.
Paige gives the James Franco look from Spider-Man 3. The like.
Paige watching through the window is honestly like,
it's even worse.
So
She's sitting in
fucking
the coffee
weird.
shop.
yeah, like watching Nicole, or not Nicole, Sabrina.
I keep doing this. Poor Sabrina. But Emily also, does she do that with? No, she doesn't do it with anybody else. I don't think. Like, because Paige eventually gets brought in, and then this kind of rolls on, and then Ezra, it's every other season.
Yeah, Ezra is just a fucking mess.
Yeah,
But we did get Jaria, depending on if you think that's Jake or Jason. But
probably the bigger one is Jason. So,
which I do like.
Totally. Yeah. Well, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There's definitely good stuff there. Should we just jump into the episode? We get talking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely want to talk about that. Oh no, I broke Google Docs. All right, here we go. Season 7, episode 8, episode 148, X's and OMGs.
There was a really popular song at that time that was like X's and O's.
Oh,
They haunt me.
Oh, okay.
Who sang it?
I appreciate you bringing this perspective.
You're welcome.
Lost on me.
You don't listen to pop music.
No.
And you especially didn't then.
No, definitely not.
It was by L. King, X's and O's.
Okay. I don't know, El King.
I know the song. Play it for you later.
Okay. There you go. A little playlist for you on your own time, people. Go listen to El King.
They probably all know it. It's probably just you that doesn't, baby.
And
once they play it, they'll be like, yeah, that song. Because it was really popular, I feel.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right.
Think like pre-Closer, you know?
Oh, this is the year of Closer.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
it might have been pre-Closer. It could have been post. I don't know. But it was like, I feel like it's that time. Yeah. This isn't related to that.
I don't even know if Closer came out in 2016. I heard it everywhere in 2016.
Yeah, 2016, 2017, really. I feel like.
Yeah,
well, we had these neighbors that lived behind us and like in a different apartment complex that we shared a parking lot.
Oh yeah.
That lived in a studio apartment, I swear to God, with 14 people. And there were always like 12 cars.
That's
and
true.
Like 20 people coming in and out. And rent in Santa Barbara was expensive. I am not here to judge. It was just a very small space. And because you could see when they opened the door, the entire apartment from our second floor,
It
one
looked
bedroom.
Like they turned a motel into apartment.
Exactly. And they would like at 2 a.m. blast Closer, just like drunk, and like every fucking night, like didn't day of the week didn't matter.
I forgot that they I do know I'd get woken up, but I didn't remember that it was Closer.
It was because you don't wake up all the way.
No,
you wake up and you go, and then you're like, I close the window or whatever, and then you go back to sleep. Whereas now I'm awake if I was ever asleep to begin with, and I'm plotting a crime.
We've truly had some neighbors that played some music, let me tell you.
No. Okay, this is a complete tangent. When we lived in San Francisco, we lived in one bedroom little walk up second floor on right next to the drag club Oasis. I loved it. I loved living there. It was great. We moved because Herman kept eating trash on the street, and it just wasn't a great neighborhood for a dog. But as a woman, it was great because like no one bothered me. Everyone left me alone. It was very nice. I rarely felt creeped out. We had one neighbor that like we were in a walk up, and there was like a handful of walk ups that were all part of the same complex. So the ones right next to us, there was like a gap in between our apartments, but our bathroom windows faced each other. And they were high enough that you couldn't like see in or anything, but I'd be in the bathtub, and it had a really cool clawfoot tub. It's why I liked this apartment. It's why I picked this apartment. I'd be in the bathtub, and I would hear the man in the apartment next door just singing girl power ballads at the top of his lungs. What song was it? Was it like a Pink song? I can't remember now.
Because I have a different memory of a different song he used to sing.
But he would sing, and he'd have other people over and stuff. But this man all day long would have his windows open, just scream singing along to the radio. It did not matter the time of day. It did not matter like what you were doing. If I was working from home or if it was a Saturday, it did not matter. If this man was awake, which thankfully I think he slept a pretty good chunk of like the late night, early morning, most of the day into like midday kind of energy.
It wasn't
early. It wasn't ever early, which I appreciate because I'm a sleep in kind of gal. But he would scream sing along to his music, and it was hilarious
with
because
the deepest, graveliest voice.
Deepest, like manliest, like if you can imagine just like someone's like beer drinking dad singing along to Kelly Clarkson. It was Kelly Clarkson a lot of the time because it was like it's a range too. You know what? It's a vocal range of someone that you're like most people can't quite hit these notes to begin with.
This man's got it.
This man is about 20 octaves too low. But yeah, and I'd be in the bathtub like just like trying to like listen to my own music or whatever, and I'm like, nope, we gotta listen to the neighbor.
He would also sing because it was I think 2019-ish. When Adam Sandler had a Netflix special, and in that special he had a song about Chris Farley, and so he would play this song like frequently, and we'd always hear the certain part where it's like something for my boy Chris Farley, so it'd be like for my boy Chris Farley. God bless that man.
He was living life.
Yeah,
a respectful neighbor. Never had any problems with him,
yeah.
but
we respect it.
It wasn't Closer at 2 a.m.
Exactly. All right. I'll just repeat the episode title again.
Sorry.
Back from the no, I completely understand. I encourage the tangent.
I drove the train off the tracks.
That's right. And I press go. Season 7, episode 8, episode 148, X's and OMGs. The friends plus Caleb, which at first it was like, why the hell's Caleb here? Walk through the streets at night. They walk through the case so far. Hanna thinks Noel set the storm cellar on fire. They ask what Allison had on Noel, and Noel's like, you remember that frat party we all went to when we were freshmen? Turns out Noel was the one who pushed the girl down the stairs, not Ian. The Cons paid the girl's family off years ago. Hanna gets pissed that they don't want to go after Noel, and she storms off. Caleb follows her, and she is irate that the rest of them don't want to follow up on Noel and go after him. And Hanna connects that the words written on the back of the car, I see you, were also written by him on Fitz's car in season 1. At Camp Mona. Caleb wants to complete...
They really outlined that for us. Hannah's like, at Camp Mona.
It is such a very specific thing that, like...
I appreciate that.
Exactly.
But also like that they called Mona's birthday party, like they referred to it by its proper noun name.
Absolutely. That's right.
The other thing that stood out to me in these episodes is at one point, Allison refers to Rosewood High as RHS. And I was like, we've never called it that. We're not going to call it that now.
Just like in the Arrested Development where they make the OC jokes. It's like the OC. It's like, don't call it that. That's exactly how we feel about RHS. Caleb wants to be completely sure about Noel, that like he wants like hard evidence essentially, and Hannah's like, well, I'm sure, and if you're not, I don't know what's going to change your mind. A car comes driving up out of nowhere. Caleb pushes Hannah out of the way and it gets hit by the car, and then we see that it's Noel driving the car, who smiles at Hannah, and then Hannah screams and wakes up. It was all a dream. Hannah visits Caleb excuse me, at his room at the Radley to make sure he's okay. They hug and long for each other, but don't kiss. Caleb still can't crack the code from the lockbox papers. Mary's gone from town, and Jenna is still in her room at the Radley, where she'll remain for these 2 episodes. Caleb gives Hannah a new phone that's bug-free. Aria's upset that she deleted the call from Fitz's phone and is catching Emily up on it. Emily's like, well, you deleted the call for the right reasons. Fitz comes into the room right as Aria says, well, I lied to him, Emily. And he's like, lied to me about what? She tells him about deleting Nicole's call, and Fitz is upset by this. Apparently, one of the trucks from the aid convoy was spotted near a rebel camp, and so the military is going into the jungle. Aria says, I'm so sorry, and Fitz is like, me too. Emily then decides now's the time to leave and goes goodbye. Fitz is going to shower.
I truly think that's so fucked up.
It's so funny. Accountability, not today.
She's like, I feel guilty, but like, I'm not going to own it.
Yeah, I gotta get out of here. I'm gonna like vent about this privately.
I'll go to confession.
Yeah. She, to her credit, she eventually comes back on this. Fitz is going to shower and head back to speak to the FBI. Aria says, see you, but Fitz stops her and hugs her goodbye. Which when he does this gesture, I had better hope than where their relationship ends off in these episodes. Allison and Emily catch up with the Brew about Ezria's big day. Allison says she's going back to Rosewood and teach today, even though it looks to me like it's mid-afternoon. Emily asks if she's now ready since it's only been 2 weeks since Archer. Allison says, no, I'm broke now. I have no choice. Emily wishes her luck as Allison leaves. Sabrina walks over to see how Emily and Allison are doing. And then Principal Hackett comes in to pick up pastries he ordered. Emily says hi, and he's like, I was just thinking about you. We randomly have an opening for a swim coach position. Please apply. Emily's like, wow, I'll think about it, and is kind of excited about it. And Sabrina's like, would you really consider taking that job and staying around here? And Emily's like, I don't know, maybe I will. Spencer and Arya are investigating. Spencer finds a Dr. Cochran that's in Brookhaven, and she's like, Arya, we gotta go to the Batmobile. Allison returns to Arya is kind of the Robin to Spencer's Batman. Allie returns to Rosewood High. That's why everybody loves Sparia. Allison returns to Rosewood High. She sees a kid wearing a hoodie dash into her classroom. She goes inside and finds the entire class wearing hoodies. This is not really followed back up on, but how do they all know what A used to dress like?
What do you mean?
Because they're all dressed like A. How do they know that's what A's outfit was supposed to be like?
I don't think it's about that. I assume it's they were
because Principal Hackett says later, I'm so sorry about what they did to you.
Yeah. No, but I would think that they someone told them to do that.
So that's part of my question.
Okay.
This isn't followed back up on. So how do the kids know what A looks like? Did someone tell them to do this? Got it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Or how did Jeff, the stupid dickhead,
I mean, what would you wear if you were being creepy? Look at Hannah in this episode. She dons her little A outfit.
Yeah, but she's going off a template set by Mona. You know what I mean?
Maybe they called Mona. They said,
Mona?
Girly Pop, what did you wear?
Mona's still instituting We Hate Allison fake gloves at Rosewood High. Sorry, RHS.
RHS, please.
Please. After the commercial break, we see Allison is throwing up in a bathroom stall, but then we quickly cut away from this to Emily and Allison catching up after her first day, and Allison's like, oh yeah, my first day went okay. Emily tells her about the job offer, and he's like, Allison, how would you feel about me working there? And Allison's like, I'd love it. Why are you even asking me this? Emily's like, oh, no reason. I don't know. I don't even know if I want to do it. And Allison's like, who would have thought we'd end up back at that high school? Arya texts Emily and asks to sleep at Lucas's loft. Allison's like, it's not your fault. What Arya did with Fitz's phone, like, she made the choice to do it. And Emily's like, well, maybe I can help her get out of this mess. Arya and Spencer arrive to see Dr. Cochran. A woman comes up and introduces herself. Spencer's like, oh, we're actually looking for the one that used to work here 20 years ago. And she's like, well, that would have been my father. He was an OBGYN here, but lost his license years ago. Spencer's like, oh, well, can we speak to him? This shady character, can we speak to him? The younger Dr. Cochran says she doesn't know where her dad is and hasn't spoken to him in years. She asks if Spencer and Arya are in some kind of trouble. And Arya's like, oh, kind of. And Spencer's like, oh, well, like, not the, like, pregnancy kind of trouble. And Dr. Cochran's like, well, take my advice. Don't go looking for him. Emily goes to see Fitz and apologizes for her role in Arya deleting the call. And Fitz is like, well, Arya still did it. And Emily's like, well, she was scared of losing you. The possibility of, like, Nicole being alive, it may make it seem like it would change everything about your relationship. But let me tell you, don't let it change your relationship with Arya. And Fitz is like, I hear you. This is still a really crazy thing she did. I need to think this through. He answers a phone call from the FBI and hears that the military is headed out. Hanna draws fashion sketches, but her wounds from when she was held hostage, like, start to hurt. She has a flashback to the.
You also have to think, like, this has all happened in, like, what, a fucking week?
Okay, so.
How long has Hanna been out?
A little more than 2 weeks, because Allison's Archer stuff was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So maybe 3 weeks.
And that hasn't healed?
Those are pretty bad.
Yeah, and she didn't see medical attention.
Yeah, maybe they're infected.
I don't know.
She has a flashback to the cattle prod and then answers a knock at the door, and it's everybody's favorite character we've been asking for. Grunwald's back.
Hi, Grundy.
Grunwald's like, wow, Hanna, you look like you've seen a ghost. Hanna's like, well, what are you doing here? Grunwald's like, are you alone? And Hanna's like, Emily and Arya are out. She's like, no, not that. Are you single? And Hannah's like, well, Caleb and I are ... And Grunwald's like, well, I had a dream and I was compelled to come here. There's a sense of darkness around you and Caleb. Are you two all right? Spencer gets
romantically or physically?
I know. It's so funny that she has to make sure, like, are you with anybody?
Are you two together?
Because if you're not with Caleb, I need to go see him and not talk to you. Spencer gets a call from Dr. Cochran, the younger. She's like, you two shitheads ransacked my office last night. You sent someone here. When I didn't help you out, you sent someone here to, like, find the file, like, the information, didn't you? And Spencer's like, or it's like, oh, but the person you sent didn't find what he was looking for. And Spencer's like, oh no, they didn't, playing along. Cochran says, I can't afford to have your guy come back here again. Get a pen and write down this address. 431 Evangeline Highway. It's an apartment complex outside of town. That's where my father is. You want him to talk? Bring a bottle of whiskey. And says, call off your dogs and never call me again, and hangs up on her. Spencer then texts Arya that Noel did them a favor.
This part's so fucking weird to me.
Yeah, she's like,
if someone broke in to my medical facility, I would call the police.
Dr. Cochran folds.
I'm not pro that. You know what I mean? That's not really my thing.
What is on the younger Dr. Cochran's guilty conscience here, Why does she fold so fast instead of pulling in the police?
Well, and why does she work at the place her father worked if her father was such a bad person and they have the same name? And why did she use his name?
Right, an absolutely horrible person.
Like, why not legally change your name then?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a lot of work.
Totally. But, yeah, especially in that place, too. Like you mentioned, where he was doing, like, ridiculously horrible and illegal shit. Like, he's probably the worst person we've ever met on this show.
Where's Nicole?
I mean, he was systematically, like, helping Radley get rid of babies and performing, like, probably
that's
abortions.
True. He's a wider sense of evil.
Yeah, and performing abortions on people that probably didn't want abortions. Or at least non-consensually, it sounds like. Dark. Yeah. He's absolutely. Grunwald and Hanna continue their conversation at the Radley. Hanna says, Caleb and I are not all right. Someone has been trying to hurt us. Hanna says she thinks she knows who it is, but the others aren't so sure. Grunwald asks if they have a connection to the hotel. Hanna's like, yes, he's staying here. And Grunwald's like, in here, I hear the pains of everybody who died at Radley. They're still radiating through the walls. And she's like, Hanna, can you hear them? And Hanna's like, no. Grunwald's like, well, you're lucky. It's deafening. Allie teaches her class about the danger of falsely, I forget what book she's specifically doing here, but it's like about like the danger of falsely accusing someone, what that does to someone's character. And And then like some like little dickhead in her class starts pushing back, and then he's just like, oh, well, like she like made these actions happen to her, and like, and then calls out like Allison on her lies catching up to her.
She's teaching The Winter's Tale because there's Queen Hermione in it.
Yeah.
So I had to Google it because I was like, Queen Hermione's in which one? Like, I took a lot of Shakespeare classes. I didn't read all of them. And also I can never remember any of their titles except for like A Midsummer's Night Dream, because that one's my favorite.
Do you know about The Winter's Tale enough to give a brief synopsis? Because I don't know.
No, but I Googled it so I can tell you on Wikipedia.
Okay. Because I don't know. Before this episode, I honestly had not even heard of A Winter's Tale.
It was grouped among the comedies that many modern editors have relabeled it as one of his late romances. It's considered to be one of Shakespeare's problem plays because the first 3 acts are filled with intense psychological drama, while the last 2 are comic and supply a happy ending. Let's see here. Let me find
any like synopsis?
Yeah, I'm going to the synopsis because it likes to tell you who did it and when it's popular and all that,
Yeah, totally.
Following a brief introductory scene, the play begins with the appearance of 2 childhood friends, the King of Sicily and the King of Bohemia. They have names. I'm not going to even try them. They visit their friend. They're catching up. 9 months later, the King of Bohemia, who's visiting Sicily, wants to return home to his own kingdom to attend to his own affairs and see his son. And his friend can't convince him to stay longer, so he decides to send his wife, Queen Hermione, to convince him. Hermione agrees with 3 short speeches is successful. He's so surprised. Her husband is so surprised that she could convince him so easily that he begins to suspect that his pregnant wife is having an affair with the other king.
Oh, okay.
So that explains the whole
that's where
he's starting rumors and lying and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
And then he orders a Sicilian lord to poison his friend, and the guy instead warns him, and they flee to Bohemia. And then because he's mad at their escape, then he accuses his wife of infidelity and declares the child she's bearing must be a bastard child and throws her in prison.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Then there's drama.
Okay.
A lot of drama. That's just starting it off.
Yeah, Jesus. Okay.
It's Shakespeare, baby.
Yeah. Well, okay. That at least loops back around on...
That's where we are in the story and what she's talking about.
Got it. Allison then gets called to the principal's office. Grunwald warns Hanna that the source
during class over the loudspeaker.
Just to then be like, are you sure you should be teaching? Are you sure you're feeling well?
You can't call a high school teacher out of class.
You're just cutting her off.
You can't leave the kids without a teacher.
I know. Hackett is the worst principal.
Hackett's like literally the worst. He's like, Emily, I know you're a criminal. Would you like to come work at the high school?
Come on over.
You've been, not a criminal. You've been arrested. Yeah. That's incorrect. She was falsely imprisoned.
Yeah.
Falsely imprisoned? She was imprisoned on false charges.
Oh, yeah.
She was
actually imprisoned.
Yeah, I was like, no, technically, and then she was kidnapped.
You're right.
It's a hard day.
Grunwald warns Hanna that the source of the threat against her is close. Hanna turns to her right, and Noel is there getting food. Hanna then drops her wine glass, and Noel comes over. You summoned me?
Ooh, glass crinkled.
Exactly. Little gremlin. And he's just like, he says, like, comes over and says hello and asks if she's done any country drives lately. Grunwald then grabs her hand and stares down Noel, and Hanna just stares at him as she has a flashback to being held in the barn and thinks about the person all in black wearing night vision goggles. Noel was obviously just standing there in silence for what was probably 30 seconds to a minute, and then eventually mutters freaks and walks away. Grunwald then has a nosebleed like she did some psychic shit. Allison steps into Hackett's office. He says, I heard about your the shenanigans in your class yesterday.
What the kids did with the hoodies.
Yep. I feel the need to ask that you're sure you should have returned so quickly. And Allison says, I am. Hackett says, I want you to be sure. And there's no shame in taking extra time to heal. Someone walks in to get his kid's file, and Allison notices the drawers and looks at class of 2012. Hanna goes to talk to the friends and says Noel is AD and talks about her dream and Noel pushing the girl down the stairs. And Emily's like, well, Sarah and Jenna were working with him. And Spencer's like, and what about the storm cellar? And Hannah's like, well, he wrote the note on Fitz's car and he could have been AD on the side with all this. And Hanna says they're at a dead end and we need to go after him. And Spencer's like, well, not quite. We have a lead. Spencer and Arya go to visit the older Dr. Cochran. He doesn't want to talk, but then when Spencer asks him about Mary Drake, Arya holds up the whiskey and he's like, well, come on in. Like I said, he's a real piece of shit and says it's been a long time since I thought of Mary Drake. She lacked common sense and discretion. He was on-call doctor badly, and the patients weren't treated very well, and that the patients created problems, and his job was to make sure the problems went away, like the babies that were born and the ones they wanted removed. He delivered both of Mary's babies. First one was a boy, and then he gave it to Jessica. He doesn't remember if the second was a boy or a girl. It was put into a temporary custody at Family Services. Arya asked what happened after that, and he's like, not my problem. Then society changed, and my ability to solve problems became a liability. I lost my job and my license. I haven't heard about Mary since then. He's like, if you see my daughter again, tell her that she can run from me and our history, but in the end, she's going to want that family more than anything. You always return to family in the end. Seems like foreshadowing for other things happening, probably not for the Cochrans. Emily walks through Rosewood High and sees Hackett. She's here to apply for the position. Oh, turns out Paige is also there, interviewing for the same position.
She tried to drown her teammate when she went to that school. If Emily wants a job, she should bring that up in her interview.
It's just the return of characters that you're like, I don't know if we need to bring them back.
I think they wanted to give Paige a proper send-off because of how Paige had to exit the show, for the actress.
Yeah, I get that. But then they immediately make her just this
worst
creepy manipulator, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, they couldn't just give her a proper oh my god, it's so good to see you. Oh, I came into town too. Oh, you're seeing someone else? Well, I'm gonna leave then. I'm going back to California.
Right, of some way for Emily to continue to grow, move on. Nope, stunted growth. We're going right back to it. Paige and Emily catch up at a bar. They haven't seen each other 2 to 3 years. They were living together in Stanford when Emily's dad died. And Emily's like, well, I'm the reason we broke up. And Paige there's no guarantee it would have lasted. Something else might have come up. Emily asks what? And then Paige has no answers.
The way people talk about their breakups, I'll have you know, I don't talk to any of my exes.
Well, yeah, this is talking, it's
there's certain ones now, once again, 10 plus years down the road, that I'd be like, sure, whatever, but even then, we're not going to get drinks. What do we have to talk about?
It's lesbians again, it's different.
It's true. Well, and it's supposed to be showing us that their relationship could still be rekindled.
Exactly.
Walking back into it, falling into the same patterns.
And
we're all falling back into the same patterns. That's the theme of the show.
No growth for anybody. Isn't that fun? Paige has had her own rough patch. She was focused on making it to the Olympics, but got in a car accident that messed up her knee, and she'll never get back to 100%. Emily asks why she's back at Rosewood. Paige is like, well, I figured what the hell when this job came up. I am also, and mentions that she also is applying to other schools, colleges. They cheers to the best woman getting the job. At the high school at night, Allison wanders the hall. She breaks into Hackett's office with the classic credit card in the door lock trick. She goes to student files and opens the class of 2012 file and goes right past a file with the last name Cochran on it. Allison opens up Noel's file and finds a note from AD that says, I warned you bitches. Do you really want to end up dead? Allison hides as the janitor comes in to replace the trash can. It's really annoying that I noticed the Cochran last name on there because now it's just going to bug me. Fitz, it's is this an actual real thing, or is this just a
we thought this would be fun.
Exactly, yeah. Red herring. Fitz watches the news on Colombia and that the military has located this rebel camp that has held foreign aid workers hostages for years now, but there's no news on the hostages if they're still alive.
I think it'd be really weird for the news to be posting that they actively have found but have not quite infiltrated or even gotten to a rebel camp.
We're doing that the news is following them all the way there.
Yeah, which makes no sense because wouldn't that tell them that, and then wouldn't they just kill your hostages?
Or something would happen. It would be a lot more tense, you would think.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. Arya comes in and
I don't know hostage negotiations. I've never participated in them, and I really hope I never have to.
But you would think, right?
But that's how I think about it. But I could be wrong.
When you're holding hostages, which is for a reason, ransom and other things, that you would probably be pretty spooked when there's news and police helicopters coming after you, or military. Arya comes in and says it's incredible, and Fitz is it's killing me not knowing. Arya's you should go, and hands him a plane ticket for tomorrow morning. She cashed in their tickets to Italy to get this. Fitz says, I don't know what to say, and Arya says, hopefully once you get there you will. Why does he go? We'll come back to this. Allison catches up with the other friends on the news. about like finding the file and the A note. Hanna looks at the note from AD and thinks back to the AD torture. She promptly then just leaves Lucas's apartment. Hannah's outside and on the phone. She says to someone that we don't know, is like, the deal's on. You get me the money, you give me the keys, and after you forget you heard from me and forget everything else about me. They agree on the other side of the phone. The person agrees on the other side of the phone. She says, the less you know about this, the better. Who the hell is this? We don't know. The next day, Hanna visits Caleb. She's like, I'll be off the grid for a couple days. I'm heading to New York. You know, New York that famously has no service, to visit the building that Lucas and I are designing. He asks if she wants him to come with, and she's like, I'll be fine. She goes to leave, and he watches her from the hall. She stops and turns around and hugs him. They seem to want to kiss again, but Hanna storms off. Aria drops Fitz off at the airport. He turns to go, but stops, turns around and kisses her, and then heads out as Aria cries. Sabrina and Emily hang out, and we see Paige watching them from outside the brew. Aria sits alone in Fitz's apartment and looks at her wedding dress. Sorry.
No, I was just laughing.
Yeah. Spencer looks through her family photo album with pictures of her family and her as a baby. Hanna is at the Lost Woods wearing all black with a duffel bag. She tapes newspaper clipping. It's not the Lost Woods. I thought it was the Lost Woods. It's like some other like random place in New York, obviously. We don't know where it's at, I guess. My assumption is the Lost Woods. She tapes newspaper clippings over the window. The end.
I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Throughout all of this, where is Mary Drake?
She's just gone. Mary Drake is like, what would prompt her to leave? She just splits down, and she's not at the Lost Woods. She's not anywhere else. So truly, where do I think Mary Drake is? Question mark. Meeting up with AD, I guess. They've got maybe another layer that they gotta work on. Maybe they're outside on the near the con farm at the little farm location where they held Hanna.
Farm?
Yeah, it's not the con farm. It's the con cabin.
Yeah, I was like, do you just assume it's a farm because he had a cattle prod?
And that it was just kind of this like shed in the middle of a field.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. I was just like, do the Cons have a farm? I know
the Cons do not have a farm.
The Campbell family do.
Right. Ooh, maybe it's the Campbell farm. Going pumpkin picking.
Isn't it apples?
Apples.
They might have a pumpkin patch.
Oh, never mind.
Okay. Let's talk about Hannah's dream really quick. Is that information true? Yes or no? Like, did Noel push that girl down the stairs? Is that what Allie was holding over him?
I think that is actually true, and that Allison had told them.
Okay.
And so, but then Hannah's having this stress dream because no one will want to follow up on this because they want to have hard evidence.
Fair enough.
That is my assumption.
I think we'll follow Hanna through, and then I'll go girl by girl on this one.
Sounds good.
Grundy's back.
Grundy's back.
What
spouting.
is the darkness she sees around Hanna and Caleb? Who is the darkness?
I feel like it's just trying to make us. I guess it's trying to get something to like point that no one believes in Hanna other than Grunwald, but Grunwald only offers mystical solutions, so can't actually help her like figure out what's actually going on with Noel. So then this spurns Hanna to go prisoners on his ass.
What I do really love about the Grunwald scene is she makes a comment where she's like, the content of dreams I don't pay much attention to. It's how they make me feel. Mm-hmm. And like there is a lot to say about that. Like there's a lot of people that like that's how they interpret dreams. I thought that was fun. I was like, that's fair.
No, yeah.
Because sometimes in your dream you're like, when you think back on it, you're like, the fuck was I doing? But I was like, I felt uncomfortable, or I felt happy, or like I felt like impatient, or
Totally. No, I would completely agree with that assessment. I think blew right past this because I'm like, why is this happening?
I'm like,
Why are we going back to this? Because we had the show had gotten rid of anything sort of mystical after Ravenswood split off. Mm-hmm. And then now it's like, we'll bring Rose. And then it's the nosebleed at the Radley after she does nothing.
Okay, but did she do nothing? Was she protecting Hanna energetically?
From Noel's bad vibes?
Yeah, do you think Noel has like an evil entity attached to him or something?
No, but I think he does just generate like evil
He
vibes.
is an evil entity.
Exactly, yeah. I don't think there's anything else going on with him.
It's like, not attached, he's just is.
This is these episodes are really setting up that not as everything is as it seems with the Khan family. But it does really seem like I could just buy that it's just like, this is what happens when you're just like an evil rich guy. You just generate bad vibes. Was
Noel the one that tortured Hanna? Is he working with this AD too?
I could really see that. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I could see that Noel is. It seems to. That's where this episode is pointing at, that he was the one in the night vision goggles.
So when Noel met up with Sarah and Jenna, was he
playing them
working, or was he working with Archer? Was he, because Jenna was working with Archer?
Mm-hmm. I think when he meets up with them, he's still working with. He's like working with AD.
Okay, but not Archer necessarily.
No, because I think they're all like, these are layers connected back up to AD, but it's like a network of people that are like in various connections to one another. Whereas like, I don't think Jenna knows who the hell AD is, but Noel might.
Mm-hmm. I did thoroughly enjoy Hannah's well-deserved mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Where she's like, and then my dream, and then this, and you're like,
it's really good. She's
having her like Arya spiral, and it really works for Hanna.
That is true. It is a classic Arya spiral. And it's really good.
And then last but not least, what keys is she talking about? And who is she talking to on the phone? Because it's not even, I was like, oh, they tell us in the next episode. And then I was like, there's no keys involved in that. That's just a straight up drug deal.
Exactly. If this is the Lost Woods, as I think it is, it could be that she somehow spoke to Mary, but how did she get her number? And then also in the next episode, how did she get this like drug dealer that gives her date rape drugs? Where did she find this guy? How does she make all these connections?
She lived in New York.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay, cool. Got it. This is what happens when you live in New York.
We'll do Arya now.
Okay.
So, and kind of Emily by proxy, just because, like, how would you feel if your friend gave you shit advice and then immediately booked it to the door when you got caught? Because it's not, Arya did do it. Yes. It was a stupid thing to do. We discussed this on the podcast extensively, but like
in the moment, like
she doesn't even go like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I gave you horrible advice because when my dad died, this happened.
Mm-hmm. But Emily then is like, okay, it just books it out of the room and is later like, okay, I do feel a little bad about that.
It's the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Drown.
What's going to happen with Nicole?
I don't think any of my fun predictions are going to come through.
Okay.
Well, you know, maybe I do think that there is a very real possibility that, well, okay, what I think is actually going to happen is that she's going to come back alive and we're going to have this whole, like, we're going to get the roller coaster still of like, well, no, like,
they're going to do a love triangle with the girl we thought was dead?
Yeah, and then Fitz is going to choose, for like an episode, and then Fitz is going to choose Arya, and they're going to get married. I think that's how this is going to be the catalyst of like, no, I choose you. Let's do it. Let's go get married. That's what I think is going to happen. But what I hope is happening is that she is actually sympathetic to the rebels now. That we get like a, oh my God. Crap. Who's the... Patty Hearst. We get like a Patty Hearst situation. Okay, for people who don't know that, she is the granddaughter of William Randolph Hearst Castle, all that. So she is captured by a, like, I think left-wing, like, small political group trying to make like a statement in the US, but then as it goes along, seems like she's working really closely with them. So then people are like, oh, she has like Stockholm syndrome and things like happening, and like works with them for like, I think a year or so until they eventually all get busted. And then like has afterwards said that like, you know, there was like, I think weird like power dynamics and stuff going on there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, actually it's a really fascinating story. So I'd go look it up. The reason it is fresh in my mind because of an old podcast we did, but also Patty Hearst is in Veronica Mars.
Yes. I remember that.
Yeah.
Because that's why I looked it up the first time.
So this, I wish I'd done my research ahead of this episode before we thought of this, but I'm just now thinking of it, so I'm kicking myself.
Arya sending Ezra to Colombia. Why? Good idea, bad idea? What's going to happen?
The only thing is, like, I don't know why you're sending him. What the hell is he going to do? I understand, like, why I guess you would want to go, like, because if it does end up Nicole's alive, that you get to, like, greet her back again. But, like, it's just this thing again of, like, pushing him away, that it's like, we got to do the right thing for you and all this, even though he is closed off. So what I said at the beginning of the episode is that he hugs her, is that he's obviously upset with her, but he still hugs her because he loves her, right? It's like, I don't have the words to completely let you off the hook right now, but like, I'm not finished with you. Essentially, that's what I got from that. And then at the end of the episode, for him to kiss her goodbye and go leave, it's like, we're just right back at it again. Where you guys aren't like communicating.
Yeah.
And well, like, I think, like,
well, okay, but what if I was kidnapped and then they thought they found me? Wouldn't you want to go be there to see if I came back?
Yes, but I wish...
what if you had a new girlfriend? Would you still want to go?
I wish he
wouldn't have had a new girlfriend. She hasn't been gone that long, has she?
No. Maybe a year?
Has it even been a year?
Okay, so...
What's the timeline of Nicole being kidnapped?
I actually don't know.
Because didn't he come back and he was depressed?
But he had been there for a little while. That, like, Sabrina knew his patterns of, like, him disappearing for multiple days at a time. So
yeah.
I think it's been at least a few months.
A few months.
That's awfully quick. Okay, but before we lay down the final judgment on this, I do want to know how long it's been.
Yeah. No, me too. Like, it's Pretty Little Liars. Remember, Arya's mom went to Europe for like 3 months during a 1 month period.
That's right. And also, Arya's side of this relationship is just wild with the stuff we get next episode.
Arya's next episode, the girl was booked and busy. She's like Allison the night she went missing. Like, Arya's like, I got shit to do.
Oh, and she is just so down bad for Fitz and just will not do anything normally.
Yeah. Arya and Spencer, let's talk about going to see Dr. Cochran.
Yeah. Like I said, I think he's maybe the most evil man on the show.
Why doesn't his daughter want to talk to him? Do you think just because he's a piece of shit?
He seems like a piece of shit.
Fair enough.
Noel was also calling Dr. Cochran the
woman.
Younger. Yeah. Dr. Cochran Jr.
Oh,
so I don't know. There could actually be some other stuff there. And then also, like I said, is there the red herring with the Cochran
Was it just
file?
because it was on he had Mary Drake's file?
Oh, no, I meant in the 2012 student folder. Oh, wait, are you talking about him going to her about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That seems possible. That he's just following up on that lead. Wait, no, but they don't find out.
They find out that he's calling Dr. Cochran because they're under the bed when they find out that he has Mary Drake's file.
And then, but how does he know to connect it to Dr. Cochran?
Because, oh no, it's not Mary Drake's file, huh? It's in it's the stuff from, Allie's mom's cellar. Yeah, I was wrong. Never mind.
Yeah,
that was on me.
Right?
Yeah,
is that where that comes from?
Yeah, that comes from Jessica having the information because they see the certificates about the babies being born or whatever.
Okay, perfect. Yes, thank you. So then that's how our friends are the protagonists of the show. No,
they're our friends.
Exactly, our good friends, besties. Sometimes they're keeping lies, and we just know, like
just like Caleb.
But okay, so that's how they know about it to then follow up. But Noel seems to know way ahead of that. So I guess there could also be something fishy up with that.
Or was he just going into Jessica's bunker earlier?
Right.
Did he just know about it?
That's true.
Because Mary Drake knew about it. And if he was working with... Mary was working with Archer, and so we presume she was working with AD. And so wouldn't that information have been shared?
This is Mary?
Yeah. Because Mary's the one who told us about the bunker.
Yes.
A storm cellar.
Right.
I don't know why I keep calling it a bunker.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mary was working with AD.
And
working
Archer.
with Archer, so they would know this sort of information, and she would obviously know Dr. Cochran
Well, she would know
of the storm cellar.
of the storm cellar.
Yeah.
Why does Dr. Cochran specifically think Spencer and Arya hired someone to break in when I'm sure they have a lot of patience?
She also says him, so that's the other thing. Is like, what's the Noel connection here? Has Noel come down and like yelled at her? I could see that. Can't you see that? That he's like at the office trying to get something and he just screams at her?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's it. But maybe there's more.
Okay, and then so in the conversation with Dr. Cochran, he's like, I delivered both her babies, the two different babies. Why is...
I really remember the first.
What?
Second one? I don't know.
What? He's obviously not giving us all of the information here, or is he? Does he just not remember?
It seems like he...
Because we know there's crucial pieces of information missing.
Yeah. It seems like he's probably like not giving the full details on the second child, but for what reasons, God knows. I guess maybe...
Like, what reason does he have to not be like he doesn't know the sex and he doesn't know?
Do they lead with that we know that Mary had two babies? No?
I don't
He doesn't
remember.
lead with that.
I don't think so.
Spencer doesn't. Because I would be like, oh, if Spencer led with that, then he's like kind of playing, he could be like, oh, well, you already know about that. I'm going to be cagey about the other thing, so he'll come back and give me more whiskey. Which I assume of why he's like holding things to the chest. But then that doubly doesn't explain why the second child he's like cagey about, but not Charlotte. I don't know.
You always return to family in the end. What does he mean? Why is he saying this?
I can't put it together yet, but well, because everything's rotating around family in this episode, and hidden family and family that you reject. So like they
really carry that theme into the next episode with Arya, because when she does what she does for Jason, getting the information is like, well, this is the only family he's got is this cousin. Right.
So it's like, and I think it's also like this sort of like almost playing with like your predestiny almost of like based off your family. Like you can't escape like your
serial killer gene,
your roots. 100%. So I just played through the game Metal Gear Solid. It's the hottest PlayStation 1 game from 1998. But there's the whole thing. It's obsessed with genes, and it's like, our genes, Snake. It's like in you. You like we're bred to fight.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm thinking about. So now I'm just catching up on like things that have been like video game culture for 30 years.
I love that for you. Okay. Allie sneaks into Hackett's office. Shades of old Allie. We love that.
Yeah. I know. We love it.
Who put the note in Noel's file?
That's AD right there.
It's beautiful penmanship.
Unless Noel went in himself and put it there, but it's also following up on the note that AD left of like, I'll kill you if you find out who I am before I like find out who killed Charlotte. So we assume that it's probably AD, and I don't think AD and Noel are the same.
Okay. Now on to Emily. Should Emily be the swim coach? Because if those kids are bullying Allie that bad, I don't think she should go there.
I don't think so either. I feel like it's going to be a bad time.
Agreed.
But I do see that at least she's excited about it. It gives her like a purpose.
And a job.
And a job, yeah.
Money.
So, yeah. And she like loves swimming. It's a way to reconnect with that. So I see it. And then in a perfect world, where'd she be with her girlfriend, Sabrina, and they would like be able to have like a nice little happy life.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Will
Unfortunately, the next episode happens.
Will Paige or Emily get the job?
Emily. I think Paige is going to like back out. Or is like not actually applying.
What happened? We saw what she wore to the job interview. We'll get to in the next episode. They gave Paige
like, that's my lounge wear.
The worst costuming known to man for that episode. Like they put her in like slip-on Vans and sweatpants, and then a denim jacket over a giant t-shirt, and they're like, she's going to a job interview, and I'm like,
this is what I wear around the house. That's what I wear when I'm just like chilling.
What happened with Paige and Emily? Like Emily's dad died and they broke up. That seems fucked up. Like, and Emily's blaming herself, and I'm like, girly.
I assume Emily started hitting the bottle and like not talking about anything, and then it became one of those things where it's like she was so closed off and everything that Paige just had to like pull away.
Okay.
That's what I assume. That's what I picked up there.
So in theory, if Paige was good enough to have made the Olympics, potentially, and that was her goal, was Emily, because she was a better swimmer than Paige until she got her shoulder injury and all of that in high school, Olympic bound?
Yeah.
Would she have been would she have gone to the Olympics even in high school?
You mentioned this and it's like, oh God, absolutely.
It would be so hard to be with someone who was in the same sport or industry as you and to have a major setback while they are succeeding and like to have like a reason why you can no longer participate in it. And I'm not saying like it's impossible. Like I'm sure people do it all the time, but I would just like, it would be so heartbreaking every day to watch your partner get to go after this thing that like you dreamed about, that you no longer have the privilege to go after because of an injury. It's something out of your control. That would just be so sad.
Absolutely. It'd be terrible. And I guess like to your point or to your question, it could be that also played a role, right? Like Emily's like feeling extremely depressed about her father, but also that she can't swim.
Like, and she can't use any of her outlets.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, it's the saddest thing when you brought that up there. It's like, oh, Emily could have been like Olympic bound. And it's like, oh.
Why is Paige watching Emily and Sabrina through the window?
I don't know. Oh, I hate that they bring her back and then it's just like she's the biggest creeper. She's like the biggest like manipulator, like creeper imaginable. Of like, I see you. You'll be back. You'll be back.
It's awful.
It's terrible.
All right. Next episode?
I was trying to think. Was there anything related to Spencer that I wanted to bring up here? No. It's just kind of like ominous of like also the family theme that she's just looking through her family book at the end. It's like, why?
Because you returned to family in the end, and she knows that her father was, like he had Jason and didn't treat Jason like family, and I think she's got a lot of family trauma.
Oh yeah, and she also has her sister.
What do you mean? You think Melissa gave Spencer trauma?
Just a little.
And a gold orchid.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Melissa. All right, but that's it. Okay, real quick before we get into the next episode, since we had a big like question mark on what was happening in Colombia during this time. So Colombia has had a history of unrest within their country, largely thanks to U.S. meddling since like all the way back in early 1900s. It's now Chiquita Banana, the Chiquita company, but the what was the name? I've just lost it. United Fruit Company that was actually had like a station there and in many other countries of exporting bananas. And actually, if you look up the history of United Fruit Company, has caused like influenced actual like political things in various countries, including like backing coups and things like that. So generally just upsetting the status quo in countries in South America. So Colombia being one of those all the way back in like 1928. But U.S. also had like military like involvement, and when the 1960s was also like backing like training specifically military personnel and civilians on like counterinsurgency, specifically against like communists and leftists, like, and back them on attacking like peasant enclaves that were known as like communists and leftists, which actually gave rise to the biggest like leftist paramilitary group in their nation. But by the time we get to this is me doing research, so if there's any like incorrections, please feel free to write in. But by the time like this show's on, like 2016, they were already in peace talks with the current government, the largest paramilitary group, FARC, on like demilitarizing and like joining the government essentially. And by 2017, they had essentially disbanded to become a political party and like gave all their weapons up to the United Nations. So the unrest that's kind of depicted here, or like the paramilitary groups, I'm not really sure if they're just pulling generally from like scare tactics around Latin America, which would be my suspicion of just being like, wow, these like scary nations under there. What would happen if like some well-meaning Americans were just trying to help out down there and they get captured, which is divorced of like any reason of like, why are these people doing the things they're doing? Let's not ask questions about that, about like, hey, maybe like they're trying to like get out from under the thumb of like large nations like the United States. I digress. So still question mark on like what they're trying to do here. I think it's still pretty firmly in the racist depiction, but you know, there's at least your very brief synopsis of what was a more peaceful time in when the show was airing as they're depicting Colombia. I also didn't find anything on them capturing like humanitarian aid workers. Like paramilitary groups did capture civilians, but it seemed mostly around like people that like were against their organization like specifically or their goals, or were somehow connected to like military and government officials. So I don't know. It didn't, essentially it didn't help, but I still think we're looking at, because there's just using this as a background as like a speed bump for Ezria is just so irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
And just feeding into scary Latin America. Anyway, season 7, episode 9, episode 149, The Wrath of Khan. Arya and the friends wonder where the hell Hanna
Not
is.
the episode I thought it was.
No.
That is, I thought it was in like the title is what I was like, oh yeah, it's that one. Like I know for a fact it's that one. Like I remember I even Googled it and it was that one. And it wasn't.
Thanks, Google AI.
Well, but now Google AI tells me the right one. So it was like last week. Was it even Google AI then?
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing it for a few weeks now, and it drives me nuts. Makes my user experience worse.
I hate AI. I mean, that's,
too.
I like spell check. Like, there's a place for everything.
Yeah, but
I'll get off my soapbox.
Right. But then, okay, just real quick. There's like a million things now where it's like, we have to call out specifically that this is an AI feature and you need to use it. And it's like, why don't you just like make something that's actually useful and like put it in part of your programming, rather than like being like every time I Google something, the actual search result is like behind 3 layers now that are at the top of the search bar, including one that fails to load quickly.
It's the AI, and then you have your sponsored things, and then it's a pain. Capitalism is not breeding innovation, it's breeding irritation.
Absolutely. Because you need to have something new to show to investors, because investors all want something around AI and the big buzzword. And so you have to show off.
It's Google. You're fucking Google. You don't like, what do you got to do?
You still need, unfortunately, you're still beholden to investors because you have to grow. Everything's going up. If graph doesn't go up, then what's happening? And so when graph isn't going up, then you cut a bunch of people. So then graph can go up some more. All right.
Speaking of Google, though, they do Google Noel in this, and then like nothing comes up, and it's one of my favorite things ever.
She's like, what?
She's like, I'm like, Noel Khan just doesn't fucking exist.
Nope, he's not real. Just like hide and seek. Arya and the friends wonder where the hell Hanna is based off the text she sent, supposedly that she's in New York. Emily then goes to call her to tell her to come back so they can get some concrete evidence on AD. Hanna pulls out we then cut to, during the scene, it's like cutting between the friends at Lucas's apartment and then Hanna in some nondescript place. She pulls out a bag with a rope and duct tape, a hammer, and a video camera. She ignores the call. Arya tells Spencer that Fitz got to Colombia's safe. They rescue the hostages, but he doesn't know if Nicole is one of them. Hanna sets up the camera on a tripod. The other friends wonder if Noel is Mary's kid. All adoptions from Radley went through the county services court, so Arya is going to investigate that. Spencer is then going to find out where Noel lives and works. Emily's like, I have a job interview. Hanna sits alone in the room. She then speaks to the camera and says her name and says, if you find this video before I do what I have to do, something went wrong, please give it to the police. Spencer Googles Noel on the People Search website, but gets no results. She gets a knock at the door, and it's Marco. He stopped by Allison's to give her an update, and then was like, oh, well, I was over in the neighborhood, so wanted to come say hi. Allison is out of town on a field trip. Archer, he tells Spencer that Archer fled to France. Marco's like, well, that's out of my jurisdiction, so I'm no longer investigating your friend's husband, so maybe we can date? Spencer's like, I can't right now, because the night I met you, I was just getting out of a relationship. It was too soon, and you know what? It's too soon now. And he's like, I get it. It's not the right time. Here's my card in case something changes. Emily visits Sabrina at the brew. She's testing out icing for a customer, and it turns out it's for Noel. And then Emily's like, he's bad news. Don't work for him. And Sabrina's like, why should I actually worry? I'm just making cupcakes. And then she's like, I'm protecting you. He's dangerous. And then she's like, I gotta go. And Sabrina's like, you can't just leave. You can't just say wild things to me and then just get up and leave. And Emily's like, sorry, I gotta go. Jason goes to visit Arya at Fitz's. He's like, hey, I heard from Emily downstairs that you were up here.
Emily just knows everyone's business, and she is loose-lipped.
Yeah, but she's like, go right ahead, Jason. Enter this man's apartment. He's like, there was a...
Well, she doesn't know they hooked up.
I guess
so it's just
true.
like that's their friend's brother.
Yeah.
Someone they've known their whole lives.
Right. More on this later. He says there was a fire at Aunt Carol's. Do you know about it? And Arya plays coy until he says, I think Archer followed Allison there to like try and hurt her. And Arya's like, okay, no, not quite.
He's definitely worm food.
There was an accident, but Allison didn't want me to tell you. And Jason's like, what? And Arya's like, well, like, we found all these files and like that your mom was overseeing Mary's care and Mary had 2 children that were adopted and Mary's now gone.
But doesn't he ask her if she was with him? And she says yes. If she was with Allison. Yeah. Arya wasn't with Allison.
Oh, she wasn't there.
She wasn't there.
Oh, maybe I have that wrong then.
No. I'm pretty sure she says that to him.
Oh, she was like, I was with her?
Yeah. She's like, oh, we were like, I went with her or whatever.
Huh.
I think.
I didn't write it down.
Okay.
Jason says, I'm sure there are more secrets, and I guess my mom was killed because of them. Arya goes to head to the courthouse, and Jason's like,
Drama.
Yeah. Jason's like, they won't give you any info. You're not a relative. And Arya's like, no, but you are. Noel is in a city and parks his car outside of a random building. Hanna follows him in a car. He dumps a trash bag in a dumpster and then drives off. Hanna gets out and grabs the bag. She opens it to find a bunch of trash and a cracked iPhone. She turns it on and finds that Sarah's picture is the lock screen on it. So we assume that it's Sarah's phone. Like, I get what they're trying to do here. That's like a hard shorthand, but like also like just having like, Paige and Emily
just a selfie of yourself as a background on your phone.
Exactly.
I feel like I would do that maybe if it was a good picture.
Yeah,
I'm on my background.
Yeah,
so it's you and me and Goofy.
Right, exactly. I also have. Do I just have you? I might just have you actually. Yeah, I just have you.
And then I have us, but our butts.
Yeah, and then I do. Yeah, then I have us and Hermie as my background.
What's your phone background?
Paige and Emily are both filling out the job application in the same room. Emily is hesitant because of her past and the question on whether you've been arrested before. Paige is like, well, Hackett knows your history, and talks her up. Arya and Jason are at the courts waiting to be called up for their appointment. He got her coffee and remembers her order. Flashback. Arya's asleep in bed as Jason comes back shirtless with coffee. They kiss. He was in town, wherever this town is, with her for 3 weeks of training and is headed back somewhere the following week. He asked her to come with him to Ethiopia. She's like, well, I have 3 job interviews this week. And Jason's like, well, you just graduated. You have the rest of your life to work, and that would be a great experience we can share. The charity will pay your way, and you can stay as long as you want. Arya kisses him and says, I have a job interview to go to. Emily leaves her interview, and Paige is there waiting. Emily's like, says it went well, and Paige is like, well, I'm going in 15. They reminisce about the old times, and Paige asks if she wants to hang out, and Emily's like, well, I'm going to go hang with Sabrina. And Paige's like, oh, I didn't know you were seeing someone. Emily's like, well, she's great, but I don't know if I can share everything with her about my past and present. Paige is like, what now? Emily's like, well, things are happening again. Don't ask me questions, okay? And then Paige is like, well, you found a way to include me in high school. You can do the same with Sabrina. Hanna's in a stranger's car at a park. She hangs up on a phone call with Emily and says she's in a meeting. He sells her some pills that will knock someone out for hours. Spencer tries to track Noel Kahn in the voter registration base using it, and her mom's campaign manager is looking it up for her, like over the phone, under like, some lie. Emily comes into the barn and she says Hanna's lying to them. She tried to call Lucas but got no response. Spencer gets Noel's address, and it's his parents' cabin, and it's in the same area where Hanna was held captive. Spencer and Emily then promptly go to the cabin. Spencer thinks it was sold years ago, and they hear a generator turn on, and they're both reminded of the bunker. Emily spots a camera, and Spencer breaks it. Arya sees the news is on at the court, and it's on Colombia, and 10 suspects are arrested. Jason comes up saying their number is called. As they come up, Jason asks the clerk about his cousin being born in Radley, and the clerk's like, well, I can't. Oh, where'd it go? The clerk says, I can't help you because you're not the adoptee. Arya then says, Jason has been through like so much and lists all his family being gone. And it's like, you really need to help him. It's the only family he has left. And the clerk's like, you're so lucky to have a fiance who cares so much. And Jason's like, she really is special. The clerk can't access them in the database, though. They're in the archives room, the files, that is, and they haven't been digitized. She's going to look and see what she can find by the end of the day. Hanna texts a number that's not under contacts that says, found Sarah's phone with your prints on it. You want it back? Be at Boa's Pub, 8 p.m. Note that she's not using an iPhone. She's using a burner. Hanna breaks up the pills into a powder and puts it into an envelope. But yeah, it's an android, so that means she's being mean and evil. Spencer and Emily search the cabin and
Can't use an iPhone in a scene where you have date rape drugs. You know the rules.
That's probably 100% true. Spencer and Emily search the cabin and find nothing like the room Hanna described or any evidence. They search again. Emily finds a box with the eye symbol on it that was from the old con parties. They find a USB flash drive inside, and Spencer plugs it into an open laptop.
Noel's a fucking idiot. Like, he's like, let me put it in this very descript box. Like,
instead of, like, if you had just left a USB drive in, like, a drawer. Like,
or even, like, with your pencils and, like, the pencil cup or something.
Yeah, no one would think otherwise.
Yeah.
Spencer plugs it into a laptop. Inside are files with each of the girls' name on it, plus Mona, but no Allison. They then find it's videos of them in the dollhouse, and it's Noel walking in when Spencer's passed out and paints blood on her. And Spencer is obviously fucking upset by this. They then hear thunder roll in. They're like, gotta go. Spencer gives Aria the USB, but Aria doesn't want to see any of the footage. Spencer wants to give it to the police, but Aria's like, we should wait for Hanna. Gonna be waiting a while. Emily got off the phone with Lucas, and they never had any. And Lucas and Hanna never had plans to meet up. They wonder where Hanna could be. Emily answers the door to Sabrina and is like, "Let me talk to you in the hall." Hanna waits alone at the bar with 2 beers. She ignores a call from Aria. Noel walks in and walks to the back. Hanna pours the powder in one of the beers. Sabrina asks Emily what's going on, and Emily's like, "Oh, nothing." Sabrina asks her to go out for food, and Emily's like, "I can't right now." Sabrina's like, "What's really going on? I'm not trying to pry, but like nothing you can say can like scare me away." Emily's like, "I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of something right now, and if it all goes right, I can explain tomorrow. Be patient with me, please." And Sabrina's like, "Okay." Emily's like, "Thank you." Emily steps back into the apartment, and the friends wonder how they can find Hanna. Caleb is trying to track her phone. Emily and Aria want to wait and see if he can find her before they go searching for her. Spencer gets a call and says, "I have to go home." Aria goes to visit Jason about the court records. Hanna walks over to see Noel. He's like, "I'm waiting for someone." And she's like, "You're waiting for me. I know you killed Sarah." And Noel's like, "You got it all wrong. She fell in the shower." Hanna asks why he had her phone and why he dumped it in the city and and why is he here trying to get back? He's like, "What do you want?" And it's like, "The police are suspecting there was foul play. They won't question me, but they knew someone took the room key from the concierge, or they will question me, and they knew someone took the room key from the concierge desk." Noel's like, "Well, that sounds bad for you." And Hannah's like, "Or you. After police talk to me, they'll start interviewing guests." Noel says, "I went to see a movie that night." And Hannah's like, "At my place, right? You help me, I help you." He asks to see the phone. She shows it to him, and he begrudgingly accepts. She cheers him with the beers. He goes to take a sip, and then he's like, "You know what? Not my thing. You have it. Just take a sip," because Hanna was being really pushy about it and really obvious about it. So then Hannah's like, no, doesn't drink from it, and he gets up and just grabs the phone from her, and he's like, "Be careful, Hanna. You'll end up just like Sarah." Spencer comes home and goes to grab the car keys to turn her mom's car alarm off, which is the reason she came home. Her power goes off, and Spencer opens up her laptop and goes to play the files on the USB. She opens up the video of herself waking up covered in blood and relives the memory. She decides now is a good time to call Marco, as she leaves a voicemail asking for his help and for him to come over when he gets it. Aria comes over to Jason's. Jason is waiting for a fax from the clerk, but the power goes out, so he can't get it. He says, "I know about Nicole, like Emily told me. Fitz went to Colombia." Thanks, Emily. Aria says Fitz hasn't called her since the morning. If Nicole's alive, she doesn't know what it means for her and Fitz. And Jason's like, "You're engaged, Aria. He loves you." Aria's like, "He loves her too." Jason's like, "You don't know, like, you don't know that this will mess with your relationship." And Aria's like, "I was just his consolation prize." Jason's like, "He loves you. You're always meant to be." And then Aria has a flashback. In their little like bungalow, their little like escape, their lover's den.
I think it's just Aria's apartment.
Yeah, I think so. Jason shows Aria the charity impact in Ethiopia, and she's like, "Well, I got a job and I took the position." Jason is upset and then recognizes that the publishing place that she got a job at published Fitz's book and are working on his next one. And Aria's like, "Oh, it's just a coincidence. Like, I probably won't even cross paths with him." In the present, Aria's like, "You're right about why I took the job. Part of me was hoping it would bring me and Fitz back together." Jason's like, "If he goes back to Nicole, then it's his loss. I can't imagine anyone better than you," and touches her leg. And Aria says, "I should go." And Jason's like, "I'm so sorry. I made you feel uncomfortable. Stay until the storm calms down." And Aria says, "Okay." Hanna listens to a voicemail from Emily saying, whatever you're trying to do, don't do it right now. Like, Noel is dangerous. We want to go to the police together, but we're waiting for you. Spencer hears banging outside her window, and then suddenly a tree branch comes crashing through. She also sees that someone sneaks in through the back door and is in the house. Marco comes in, and she's like, tells him that someone's in the house. He draws his gun and tells her to stay there and go searching. She then notices that the USB is gone. Spencer texts Emily and Aria that the USB is missing as Marco tapes up tarp over the window. She's like, I really thought someone was in the house and sorry for making you come for nothing. Marco's like, it's okay. And he goes to leave and she's like, can you stay? I don't want to be alone right now. And he's like, well, okay. Emily sits alone as the power comes back on. She calls someone and asks if they can talk. Turns out it's Paige, who says Noel is doing this to us and asks for her to come over. And Paige is sitting in the brew watching Sabrina work like a great, just a stalker. And it's like, I'll be right there. Aria gets a text from Fitz that Nicole wasn't one of the hostages and he's coming home tomorrow. Aria cries. Jason comes back over with the facts. The entire file has been redacted. Aria looks through the file and sees all the black bars, but the name of the judge is there, and the name is Stephen Kahn, and she thinks that he adopted one of Mary's children. Noel drives back to his cabin and gets out to unlock the chain blocking the driveway. He sees that the hat that Hanna was wearing on the ground. Hanna comes up behind him and hits him with a billy club, knocking him out, and says, "Game over, bitch."
That is hilarious to me.
Uh-huh. She goes full prisoners on him. And when I mean prisoners, I mean the movie Prisoners, when people think that I mentioned this before of like, this show is like heading into this direction, this like dark thriller.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where families think that someone has kidnapped their child, but the police won't go after them. So then they take matters in their own hands of like capturing them and torturing them. And that is 100% what Hannah's doing here.
We'll start with Hanna then. Hannah's like, hi, I'm Hanna, and welcome to my YouTube channel at the beginning. What else is on that video? What is on that video? Because she's like, give this to the police if I don't come back.
Oh, I think she wants to tape his confession. I think she wants to tie him up and torture him and make him confess.
But she says, if what I'm doing goes wrong, like this seems like a contingency plan. So I would assume that she's already pre-recorded something else. Do you not think so?
I guess so. I think she's probably just saying what... I guess you're probably right. I hadn't thought of that. I would assume then that she tells the camera everything she knows, and so that they can come back around and investigate Noel.
Perfect. Okay.
That'd be my guess.
We've already addressed why Sarah's picture is her own background. I wrote that down.
You wrote that down too?
Was Hanna held captive in Noel's cabin?
I don't think so, but I do get that the relation that it's close by. I think there is something else going on there, and I think that Noel is involved, but I don't think it was on his property.
What are going to be the repercussions of Hannah's attack on Noel? Like her plan to do this and what she's doing and how it's going down?
Yeah. It's going to break... Well, obviously it's going to break bad. But I don't think she's going to get what she wants, which is a confession out of him. It's going to turn the tables on her, and he's going to escape, and she's going to be left holding the bag and possibly injured or put into a potentially dangerous scenario.
Okay, so that's what you think is going to happen to Noel?
Yeah, I think he's going to get broken out, or someone else is going to break him out, essentially. But I don't think she's going to get what she wants, which is a confession. I think we'll probably get some sort of info. But I think we're only going to get like some minor shit. Like he's going to like accidentally fess up to something, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And Hannah will be like, wait, you mean this? And he'll be like, damn.
Emily?
And I think she's also going to have some real emotional shit of like realizing what she's doing.
Absolutely.
Which is like crossing, you know.
Is this crossing a line for her morally?
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm just like AD, aren't I?
Am I bad too?
Exactly.
Did I hit the accelerator when I could have hit the brakes?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was Archer. You're totally justified in hitting the accelerator.
Emily is wild for the don't make a red velvet cake for Noel Kahn move.
It's so funny. And Sabrina's like, I'm just going to make the cake and give it to him.
I want a red velvet cake like with like a really good frosting. Like I feel like they sometimes get like a good cream cheese frosting with the red velvet cake. I want a red velvet cupcake so fucking bad right now.
Yeah, it looked really good.
It looked so good. We'll have to figure out if we can make gluten-free ones for you.
I was gonna say,
my little seal.
You know, because I can't have no regular ones.
I know.
But it is really funny. It's like you can't hand them off these cupcakes. For the love of God.
Why did Paige say she didn't know Emily was seeing anyone when she saw her with Sabrina the night before?
Mm-hmm. She's playing a little like manipulation game. It's weird. I don't like it.
Why?
Such bad vibes. And I think it's not even gonna be connected to any like AD or anything. It's just like, oh, I want you back. I think that's all it's gonna be.
Why would Emily tell Paige about AD?
I wish I knew.
Falling back into old patterns, I guess.
I know. Why? It's so frustrating to not have her go to her new girlfriend to like say this and like try and figure this out and like again like just grow as a person. No growth over like 6-7 seasons. Like to not even use because it would make everything so much better if like they had gone through all this trauma and stuff and that they've grown. But they did none of that. We've gotten nothing.
Trauma doesn't always make you stronger. It just fucks with you.
That's true. That's fair. It just makes it rough to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love some character growth.
Do we think Noel Kahn is a child of Mary Drake's and that Judge Kahn is going to have anything to do with this?
No, I do not think.
It's the red herring.
I think absolutely. But I think there's going to be more importance with like the Kahn family and what the hell of like how this relates then back to Noel. But I don't think he's the second child. But there is something happening with that we're gonna get some sort of unraveling there of like following that thread of like what the hell Stephen Kahn has to do with this.
The whole Kahn family's up to.
The Kahn clan.
Why does Noel have videos from when he worked inside the dollhouse? That seems like incriminating evidence to own.
Why wouldn't you just destroy that flash drive? They don't look at any of the other videos, and I understand why. I completely understand.
Yeah, Spencer only looks at her own.
Mm-hmm. Like, I get it. Like, that's really hard. But it's also, as a viewer, you go, what else is on there? Is it just videos of that? Is it just videos of Noel? Do you also see, like, Charlotte coming and doing things? Which also, now, there was 3 people working in there. And it also makes more sense if, like, Noel was the person that was torturing Hanna, because we do see that other AD or A figure at the dollhouse when it looks like there's 2 people running and like operating things. So, but I don't know why you would keep it unless there's like other incriminating evidence that you're trying to use as like a safety thing. Like, did Charlotte make him do it? But then, and it's like, here's all this evidence, but then why hold on to it?
How does Noel just not exist on the internet when Spencer Googles him?
I know. It could be that
he wiped his name.
Or that his name...
But even, like...
His name was always a fake?
But wouldn't you get, like, something of, like, oh, what he did in high school, or...
Right. Yeah, because he was essentially... He has a file at school under Noel Kahn. So did AD erase his past? Because AD also... I could see that. Because AD also also took his file at school.
Is Noel Kahn just being erased?
Yeah, maybe. Just burying Noel Kahn.
Does that bode well for Noel Kahn?
No, absolutely not. I don't think he knows this is all happening.
How did Archer get to France on a fake passport if he's dead?
Yeah. And how did they track him? I guess they spotted him in France?
And like Detective Fury's just convinced he's never coming back so he can date Spencer? I have so many questions about this, man.
He's like, well, I mean, it's technically out of my jurisdiction now, so even if it does come back up
we could kiss
later, we could still kiss in the meantime. And like, was she really like, she seems like she wouldn't want to bring him back anyway, so like there's no conflict of interest here.
Also, should Spencer be dating another cop? Because the first one went so well for her.
No, I am convinced that there's going to be a heel turn of Marco.
He looks a little too old for Spencer, too.
He does. I also think that. I'm like, this is a grown-ass man.
Not like a 21, 22-year-old.
No. I mean, they're probably actually
23.
close in age.
Yeah,
in real life.
yeah. Oh, 100%.
So it's
but
like, Troyan's like, what, like pushing 30? And
I think she's already
like,
30 at that point.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Who took the flash drive in Spencer's house? Because we saw a figure.
Yeah, run through. Okay, so Noel's preoccupied.
What do you mean?
He's off doing his thing with...
He got bonked in the head
by Hanna. Yeah, exactly. Makes the cartoon sound effect, like boing. Yeah, so who else would want to take the flash drive? I guess if like I said, if there's other incriminating evidence on maybe like AD or okay, who else was at the dollhouse? Charlotte, Noel, and Sarah, as far as we know.
2 out of 3 are dead.
Yeah. So is there a fourth and a fifth that also worked at the dollhouse? This is for enterprising young men and women. Come work at the dollhouse.
Where's Mona?
Where is Mona? Everybody should be asking this.
Okay. You ready to go into Jaria?
Let's.
Their 3-week fling, give or take.
Uh-huh.
Should Arya be telling Jason about what they saw in the cellar?
Jason, I think, yes. Jason is probably the most reliable person on this show. I feel like life just happens to him.
Arya
He's a victim of circumstance.
Arya loves an older man volunteer.
Yeah.
Her first boyfriend
really
volunteered to date children, and Jason volunteers to go to Ethiopia.
I don't know if I mentioned on this podcast or on air. I know I talked to you when we were talking offline. I'm like, I love Jason. He's such a loser.
You said that to me privately, I think.
This man can't help but taking L's, and he's like fell in love like with his sister's friend when she was still 16 and has not gotten over it. It's like, my God, Jason.
It's kind of cute though.
I think like them two together are cute, but like at the same time, it's like, come on, man.
He was like 20 at the time.
Yeah, it's like, dude, let's move along. But they're my problematic fave.
Why didn't Arya stay with Jason?
I'm wondering the same thing. Stay with Jason.
I would have stayed with
Jason. But she is so down bad for Fitz. It's so funny that she's like, well, I know he's dating someone else, but I'm going to apply. I'm going to try and get this job at the publishing. I mean, we talked about this also because you were like, well, there's only so many publishing places. And then she literally says later in the episode, like, yes, I was doing it to get closer.
Yeah, I was like, well, aren't there only like 5 to 7 like big publishing houses, if even that? Like,
and Ari's like, well, okay, like be that as it may. I want to get a roundabout to be close.
And it could have been a smaller boutique one. I don't know. I don't know how big Fitz,
And then pulls in Liam as collateral damage. There's so many people that there's so many men. If you're not Fitz, I mean, they don't know obviously, but men should not be dating this woman because like she is going to use you until Fitz has come back around and you are out.
It's so sad.
It's really funny. This happened. So she went from Jason to Liam, and Jason knew about her jump to Liam because he's like, oh, and that's who you're like marrying now? Oh man. And just how heartbroken Jason is of just like, you're doing this because of Fitz. So he knew.
Yeah.
He knew that this Liam thing isn't going to work out.
It's so sad to him because it's like, oh, I really like this person and she's with this person who treats her like shit.
No one picks Jason. Not Ashley.
Oh no. Jason's done some things. It would be so weird to marry your friend's brother who slept with your other friend's mom. She's Eskimo sisters with Ashley.
Yeah.
I don't know if we still use that term. I probably shouldn't use that term. I don't know if that's still a thing.
But it's that's so funny.
Good God.
Yeah.
Good God.
It's hilarious. Jason, just
Poor
shit
Jason.
has happened to this guy.
He's had some moments.
Yes.
Ashley cheated on Pastor Ted with him.
Oh, it's really. I find it so funny too that like Jason is being like just the best guy, You and Fitz are meant to be together. You're doing great. But like, he just can't help it. He can't help but overplay his hand because he's too in love with her and too into her that he has to try and make a pass and then immediately breaks everything. He's like, shit. He was doing so well. And he's just like, nope, I can't. I messed it all up. But then he's even like, nice guy. I'm so sorry I made you uncomfortable.
Yeah. No.
But I was just saying for his like purpose of like trying to win Arya, he just can't help but overplay his hand.
No. Poor Jason. All right, you want to take us to your theory corner?
Not particularly.
You got no. It's okay if you don't have theories, baby. You don't have to take us.
No, we're going.
Oh, okay.
Let us step into. Theory Corner. Welcome to Theory Corner, everybody.
Never unpacked. Or they just case
They
files.
just keep bringing stuff in, and because I'm like, okay, wait, not this one. But there's just so much happening. Okay, so the evil Dr. Cochran. I feel like Stephen Kahn was maybe also on the payment of like the whatever was going on with Radley of like trying to like bury like kids in like parentage and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do wonder if that Noel is not the child of Mary, but maybe Stephen is the father of Mary's children.
Did you see who the person from the Child Protective Services who picked up the baby looked like?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay.
I wasn't paying attention. That was probably a big clue, huh?
I mean, I don't know if it was intentional that way because I don't think it is that actor. Does that make sense?
Okay.
But you'll have to look at it and kind of come to your own conclusion because I don't want to give you any sort of information on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, oh.
Dressed like Humphrey Bogart there?
Yeah. Oh, and then I was like, oh, is it just someone who's supposed to look like Humphrey Bogart? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It was Humphrey Bogart himself. But there's also, like, I mentioned that as a potential theory of, like, connecting this all up and that, like, why Noel would then potentially be helping Charlotte, who could be then his half-sister. But I'm also a little bit out of a loss of, like, he very well could be related, like, actually be a child of Mary, but I don't think that's where they're going. I think we're gonna get something else, and that's also because of other things I spoiled myself on. But
you've still got so many reveals that you don't know.
Right, I can't even possibly fathom where we're going.
There's one reveal that I was just reminded of by somebody that I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. You're gonna react. You're gonna have a reaction to that.
Okay.
It's not gonna be that's not a bad one. It's just like I just remember being like, what the fuck?
So I guess we'll see where that goes. But also it seems like, because I was also trying to think of like who could be working at the hospital, because that's what it's really actually what it's playing in, like what the episode is actually talking about in like this whole storyline of like the evil ways of like medical practitioners like taking advantage of patients and drawing on like real world fears and history of women being mistreated by medical practitioners in places like sanitariums and things. So I would assume from thematic wise and what it's drawing from, I would assume it would be someone who's working there as like a doctor, but I don't know who would have been working there at that time to put that together.
Mm-hmm.
So my best guess then is that Stephen Kahn, who's one of the people listed on potentially facilitating like adoption of babies and things like that, could potentially be implicated in all this of like what Dr. Cochran's work was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I think that Noel is being drawn in there of being a sibling. And that's why he's doing horrible shit, but he's also just a horrible, evil person.
He's just a bad guy.
I think he's just a horrible, evil.
He's a bad egg.
Yeah.
I love it.
His bad vibes.
Good job out there.
I don't think there's anything else that really comes up here that I can draw on. I think that's kind of like the biggest stuff. It's like we're all just orbiting around Noel and trying to prove Noel. I don't think there's anything else that's like really big moving mysteries forward, right?
Yeah, well, an A's not doing jack shit.
No, there's no AD. The AD is just leaving notes at places where they're at of like, stop looking. But otherwise, his AD's not messing with them because AD's like, I'm looking for Charlotte's killer.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, so there's not much new for me to really. I'll still hold on my other theories of, this family trying to figure out like what happened to Charlotte and getting revenge on people and coming back after the De Laurentises.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I guess that's it then.
Loves it.
Yeah, which is funny because there's so much that happens in these episodes, but there's like not a lot also.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
This was like a really infuriating time to watch the show, in my opinion.
Oh, I can imagine.
Because you're just like week by week, you're like, oh, so there's no update about who A is. Because when you set the show around who A is and then like you don't do anything about that for so fucking long.
Yeah. And I don't think any of the like individual storylines are compelling.
No. And you're like, okay, Hanna, break up with Jordan. I don't give a shit.
Right. Like in Twin Peaks, you get who's the little evil that they think the child is the devil. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like that has nothing to do with the wider plot line, but that is just fun.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So,
Well,
all right. We'll see you all next time.
Goodbye, Theory Corner.
Goodbye.
Any final thoughts on these 2 episodes? Next week?
No.
Is it-
Dun dun dun. Important things happening. X gonna give it to you. Yeah. So I'll hopefully have a lot more to go on, and also, both you and
Sarah.
Yeah. Well, friend of the podcast, Sarah left a comment on that the big plot happens starting in 7B.
Yeah, like the big thing that I associate with this A starts in 7B. I had to look this up a couple weeks ago because I was
So it's
like,
all within 10 episodes.
when the fuck is it going to happen? When the fuck is it going to happen? There's a couple more things too where you're like, oh, what's going on? And then you realize like that it's all like, you know, like you get more A stuff soon.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
At least I hope.
Well, we'll look forward to that next week, shall we?
All right.
You can find this podcast on all your audio podcast platforms at Dead Ends. You can also leave us 5-star reviews there on all your podcast platforms. Help us out there.
Thank you.
You can also find us on YouTube for the video version at dead_ends. Leave us a comment. Talk to us. We love talking to people in the comments. You can also send us an email with anything. But if you're going to send spoilers, make sure that it's not in the subject line or the preview text. Put some nice spaces in there. And that's at deadendspcast@gmail.com. You can also find that in all the descriptions of the episodes. And with that, we're still here. We're going to find out everything.
Okay, love you. Bye.